Hey, this is Jason McCann with Mountain Tactical. I want to introduce Jeff Silverman. Now, a lot of you have spoken to Jeff on the phone. He answers the phones during the week. He troubleshoots with you. He answers emails. He is our customer service manager and a great guy. And Jeff, you actually called this video into session, or this video series, because we're actually going to make a series of about 2 to 3 different videos. And
yes.
Why did you call us?
Well, I think this is very important for everybody out there. I would like to go over some of the most common asked questions that I receive on a daily basis via phone, email, whatever the case may be. So hopefully if we can go over a couple of these basic how-to things, you'll have a better experience with our products.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, someone buys our product, they want to have a good experience. We want you to have a good experience, and every once in a while there's just things that happen, and luckily there's some real easy fixes to those, and that's what we're going to go over here. So cue the intro, let's dive in.
Hey everybody out there, Jason and I want to get together and do this video about magazine functionality, okay? So whenever I get a phone call about a magazine issue, they always want to send it back saying that our magazines are out of spec. Well, once we get these magazines back and we function test them within the shop rifles, they work flawlessly. But everybody's saying it's out of spec. Jason, how can they not be out of spec?
Well, the reason why I know that these are always in spec is because the way we manufacture these, the first operation takes care of all of the critical dimensions. All of those critical interfaces between the action, the bottom metal, and the magazine are covered in the first operation. And if those features are not in spec, the magazine simply will not fit into the second operation fixture. We cannot finish a magazine that is out of spec because it will not fit into our fixturing. And that's why when these magazines come back, they work in our shop rifles.
Yes. So
that's where we know, and honestly, most of the time when somebody's buying one of our mags, they've upgraded something else on their rifle. And that's what we want to go over today, is the entire rifle system, because this is an entire system, very well engineered by the fins. And when we start changing things, if we don't keep in mind the tolerances that Tikka had when they designed this rifle, we're going to have issues.
Yes.
So let's dive into those.
Let's do it.
So the very first thing we want to cover is magazines. Now, Tikka magazines are incredibly reliable, and our magazines are incredibly reliable. But what happens is when you customize your rifle, all of a sudden they start becoming finicky. So what I want to do is show you how this system's supposed to work. So here's a factory mag. It gets put in the rifle, and you can see here, even without a bottom metal, it stays in place. We can take our mag, exact same thing. Even without a bottom metal, it stays in place. This magazine is designed to go into the mag well, be held in place by a spring in front of the trigger, and the front of the action actually holds the front of the magazine in place. It's a very bomb-proof system. However, when we customize our rifle in different tolerance stacking of different parts, this very simple system can go awry. And that's what we're going to dive into and explain what's going on with your magazine. Okay, Jeff, what is the #1 issue you come across when you're helping customers with magazines?
First thing out of their mouths is they're saying that they're having issues with the rounds being seated properly. Okay, totally understand that. We all get excited. It's hunting day, going out early in the morning, grab our rounds, still sucking on our first cup of coffee of the day, load up our 3-round or 5 to 6, whatever you prefer. Load up our ammo. We might not even throw it in the rifle. We just throw it in our rifle bag or in the back of the truck, and that's it. It's bouncing around all the way out there. First thing, the magazine's not feeding properly. First and foremost, you got to. This is the first thing they taught us when I was a parasailing in the Marine Corps. Every time you load a magazine, it is your duty and responsibility to make sure that everything is working perfectly. Plain and simple. A lot of people call me going, well, my rounds are sitting funny in the mag. You know, the first one will load, the second one's all cattywampus. It's so simple, even a jarhead can fix it. It's called tap the mag. She'll be perfectly seated. Also, a lot of times people say, still, after I do that, still doesn't work properly. Well, a lot of times when we're all gunsmithing at home, messing around with an empty mag, we get done with it, throw it out. Sometimes these springs can move a little bit in there. So even before you load your ammunition, make sure that that spring is seated properly. Load your ammo, tap it a few times, okay?
Okay, Jeff, so when you're in basic, they wouldn't let you on the firing line until you knew how to load a magazine correctly.
That is correct.
And I know this seems very, very rudimentary for most of us. We've been shooting our whole life. But explain to us why that is important. Why is it important that you tap? And do you have to tap as hard as you just demonstrated here?
No, you don't, but you know, in the military, you, especially as a jarhead, we've been known to break things. But anyway, to get back to the question, first and foremost, when you tap the magazine, you're making sure everything is functioning properly. Everything from the spring to your follower and your ammo is seated properly. And in the Marine Corps, back in my day, it's probably changed now, they would issue us 30-round magazines, but we were only allowed to load 28 for proper tension on the spring. Also, what is nice about when you tap in the mag, if there is any particles, it knocks it out.
So by tapping the magazine, you're making sure the follower's in alignment, the spring's in alignment, the ammunition's in alignment, so that way when you put it in the firearm, it presents to the chamber correctly.
You are correct. You're ready to rock and roll.
Gotcha. All right. So that's a pretty easy fix.
Okay, hey Jason, before we get to the next one, let this old jarhead get out his trusty crayon. Scratch that one off. Oh, I got a question for you. As the main builder around here and the Tikka guru, what is the one thing that you see when you are building a custom rifle that are throwing off tolerances?
Oh, that's a great question. It's actually pretty easy. So Tikkas actually have a 3-degree angle to their bottom metal. And if that 3-degree angle in the bottom metal inlet is not there, the mag can't seat properly like we showed you before. And so when you're making an aftermarket stock, let me back up a little bit. So most Tikka stocks are injection molded. The Rough Techs, the T3 Lights, those stocks, they're injection molded. And so you can put whatever angles you want into the mold, and it's a pretty straightforward process. So when, the Macmillans of the world, the Manners of the world, and other companies, I mean, there's a lot of great stock manufacturers out there, are making stocks out of fiberglass, carbon fiber, out of laminates and wood. That 3-degree angle is a challenging tolerance to hit, and the reason why is it's real easy when you're inletting a rifle just to flip it 180 degrees and cut everything parallel to the action inlet. Yep. So the problem is your bottom metal will never seat correctly, and then your mag will never sit correctly.
That is correct. Yep.
The other repair work that we do quite often is when somebody beds their stock, they didn't relieve material out of the stock, they did a skim bed. Skim beds aren't worth $1, so don't do it. They didn't bed it correctly, and so you're supposed to relieve material out of the inlet section of the stock to give room for that bedding compound to go. Well, you put bedding compound in there without relieving that compound, all of a sudden, your bottom metal and your action are too far apart. Yep. And the mag cannot seat properly into the mag well onto the action. So, Tikkas are not easy stocks to manufacture, or Tikka stocks are not easy stocks to manufacture, and there's companies, I mean, we've seen the gamut, reputable companies, younger companies, both make really excellent Tikka stocks, and we've seen companies, same company, make a completely terrible Tikka stock that we spend a lot of time repairing. So the number one issue, I guess I see on the build side, is that 3-degree angle not being machined into the stock, in which case that has to be repaired, and then too much bedding compound under the action, and that throws that tolerance off.
Yes. Yep.
All right, I think we can cross that one off the list.
All right, let's do it.
All right, Jeff, so what's another common issue you come across?
A lot of times, believe it or not, this is simple and easy. We always want to maintain that 3 degree. Okay, so what happens a lot of times, whether you are replacing your bottom metal, messing around with recoil lug, that's what we got an issue with, okay? A lot of times people call me and say, hey, once again, my magazine's not working. I tell them, I ask them, have you messed around with the bottom metal? Have you taken the action out of the stock? 99% of the time, the answer is yes. And with that being said, what happens is, this looks like it's seated properly, correct?
And you can actually torque this down at this point. You can put the bottom metal on, you could torque it down, you think, I mean, it actually looks like it's seated correctly in the stock.
Looks can be deceiving.
Yeah.
So what I always tell people is to make sure, get back to your gun vise, pop the action out of the stock. What we do as a trick around here is we will actually make sure that we get that lined up at eye value. Let me see if I can see. I don't have my glasses on. There we go. I think she's in there. Is she or is she not?
Yep, she's in.
She's in there. And we always want to bring it all the way back so it's seated properly on the recoil load. Because if it's not, you just lost that 3 degree.
And you can test it by putting your rifle vertical and pushing down on it.
Yep.
And you want to do that when you're torquing it down anyways, just to make sure that you're seated on that recoil.
That the action doesn't come off that recoil load, correct.
But that's an easy fix. I mean, we've done it. I mean, it's rather embarrassing when it happens, but hey, it's with that tombstone style recoil lug, it is an easy mistake to make. And it's an easy fix.
Yes. And you don't have to go spend money with a gunsmith.
Right.
Okay, so hey Jason, after we've gone through all these important issues when it comes to magazines functioning properly and making sure that we keep that 3 degree slope from action to recoil lug to bottom metal to the magazine. I know you know this answer. What is the last piece of the puzzle?
Your bottom metal has to be torqued to the action correctly.
Yes.
And that's actually not as easy as just getting it tight and turning another quarter turn.
Yeah.
Depending on the stock, you can actually ruin your stock. So please, 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 we talked about it in our essential tools video, which we can link down below. Get a torque driver. Wheeler fat wrench, there's a link below. Pick one up. It is going to be your favorite tool in your tool bag. So now the reason why a torque driver is so important is because depending on the material your stock is made out of, you can crush the stock, and that's going to ruin that 3 degree cant. So for example, and the other thing is the particular manufacturer. So for example, this is a very popular low cost Tikka stock. One of the easiest upgrades people will do. And quite honestly, the way the manufacturer inlets this stock, they inlet it like it's a plastic stock. And they don't provide any support for the bottom metal up front. And so what happens is, with this particular stock, it is incredibly easy to crush the material there, and then all of a sudden, your rifle system doesn't work correctly. You're going to have to either add pillars to this stock or bed the bottom metal. I got to say, you probably get a lot of calls on these.
All the time.
Okay.
All the time.
Now, there's also manufacturers, I mean, this is a very, very high-end laminate stock, and they actually add supports for the bottom metal. So you're actually less likely to over-torque this one. And even if you did over-torque it, you're less likely to ruin that 3 degree inside of there. So great stocks out of Norway. Now, again, you don't want to over-torque it. It is still a natural fibrous material, and you can damage this stock by over-torquing it as well. And then here's one of my favorite fiberglass stocks here. And with the fiberglass, I mean, this is just a solid composite structure. Same thing, like here's a carbon fiber stock. But with the fiberglass, you can put more torque on the fiberglass and the carbon fiber stock than you can on the laminate stocks or a wooden stock. And it's definitely a much more stable stock in different temperature environments and humidity environments. And then with carbon fiber, this particular manufacturer puts pillars inside of here. And this is good. This is an aluminum pillar system in carbon fiber, but they put some material around the aluminum so the aluminum's not touching carbon fiber. Most people don't realize that if aluminum touches carbon fiber, the galvanic corrosion, it's going to cause problems down the road. So great manufacturer. They actually put pillars in that will hold that 3-degree slope much better than just a free floating, you know, relying on the torque for everything. Now, what's interesting is they have the pillars in here, but this manufacturer did not put the bottom metal supports in here like this manufacturer or this manufacturer. So time will tell if that's going to become an issue. Yeah. But being a composite material, it is not going to crush as easily as a fibrous wood material. But absolutely, number one thing, you can do everything else right. Yeah. You over torque your stock, you under torque your, you over torque your bottom metal, under torque your bottom metal, and you're not going to be able to hold tolerance in that interface between your magazine and your action.
And that's why it's very important with our torque settings, they're dry torque settings.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
No need for Loctite or any of that. All right, shooters, so if you like the content that we put in this video, please do me 3 favors. Hit the like button, subscribe, and don't be afraid to comment down below. Jason, got anything else for him?
Nope. Go get some trigger time.
Pew, pew, motherfucker!